Picture this. It's 1903, and J.A. Bordelon, the lieutenant governor of Bengal, marches an expert team up to the ancient Konark Sun Temple on the coast of Odisha, India. But right away, you can tell this wasn't just some routine colonial inspection. Something intense happened that day. He actually ordered the inner sanctum of this majestic 800-year-old temple to be filled to the brim with millions of tons of sand. And then he had it sealed shut with massive stone walls. No doors, no entry, just shut off from the world. Forever.
So the obvious question staring us in the face is why? Why on earth would authorities take such extreme measures to physically bury the interior of one of the world's absolute architectural marvels? Because make no mistake, the Jagmohan, which is the main assembly hall of the temple, was essentially buried alive from the inside out.
Right. Let's dive into this explainer. Was this actually just an act of historical preservation? Because the official colonial story claims the British were just trying to stop the towering structure from collapsing in on itself after centuries of neglect. But you know how these things go. Rumors have been swirling for over a century. Did Bordelon and his team see something terrifying inside that inner sanctum? Something that completely defied explanation and simply had to be hidden away?
I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. 123. For 123 years, not a single human being, no scientist, no historian, literally no one, has crossed the threshold into that sealed chamber. Whatever lies in the dark behind those stone walls has been entirely cut off from the modern world. The sheer scale of this mystery is absolutely staggering.
Let's look at part 1. Origins, Myth, and History. To figure out the why behind the ceiling, we really have to rewind. We need to look at how and why this incredible structure was built in the first place, and what kind of power it supposedly held. So according to ancient lore, the temple was built by Samba, the famously handsome son of Lord Christian. He got struck with a horrific curse of leprosy because of his arrogance, and ended up performing a grueling 12-year penance right on this coastline. The sun god cured him, and a grateful Samba built this temple. But if we pivot to the historical records, this monolithic structure was actually built between 1238 and 1264 AD by King Narasimhadeva I from the powerful Eastern Ganga dynasty. And get this, he poured 12 whole years of his state's revenue into this single project just to rival the Puri Jagannath temple and flex his absolute power to the world.
Moving on to the next piece of the puzzle, ancient engineering and time.
But honestly, the true marvel isn't just who built it, it's how they built it. To grasp why the British might have been so terrified of a collapse, you have to appreciate the sheer genius of its construction. The entire temple wasn't just designed as a building, it's literally a colossal stone chariot meant for the sun god to ride across the heavens. It's pulled by 7 carved stone horses. And sure, you might guess they represent the 7 days of the week, but more staggeringly, they map exactly to the 7 colors of sunlight. Keep in mind, this was constructed in the 13th century. That predates Sir Isaac Newton discovering the light spectrum with his prism by over 400 years. Add in 24 massive wheels for the 12 months of the year, and you are looking at an absolute masterpiece of ancient astronomy.
And those wheels, they aren't just decorative, they are incredibly accurate, highly functioning sundials. Check this out. If you locate the 8 major spokes, they represent 3-hour gaps in the day. Then, the 8 minor spokes break that down even further. If you place a finger right in the center and count the beads along the rim where the shadow falls, reading counterclockwise, you can tell the time down to an astonishing 3-minute precision. 3 minutes! Just by looking at shadows on stone.
Which brings us to a darker chapter, the ultimate sacrifice.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that you simply don't achieve this level of perfection without some heavy consequences. The king's staggering ambition led to an impossible physics challenge, a massive human cost, and a pretty dark narrative that still haunts the temple. The secret behind the structure relies on a diamagnetic field. The ancient builders actually didn't use any cement. Instead, they used this advanced interlocking system, clamping massive sandstone blocks together with iron plates. But the true genius was right at the top, a colossal 52-ton lodestone magnet. This top magnet interacted with the iron plates at the base, creating a magnetic field so perfectly tuned that the main idol of the sun god, which was made of an 8-metal alloy known as ashtadhatu, literally levitated in midair in the center of the room. No strings attached, no hidden supports, just pure magnetic physics 800 years ago.
But as you can imagine, perfectly aligning a 52-ton magnet is practically impossible.
The chief architect, Bisu Maharana, and his massive team of 1,200 master artisans spent 12 long, grueling years building the temple, but they just couldn't place that final magnet to stabilize the whole structure. Well, King Narsimhadeva's patience completely ran out. He delivered a terrifying ultimatum. Fix the magnet by sunrise, or all 1,200 artisans get beheaded. Literally, death by sunrise. So the greatest architectural minds of the era were completely paralyzed by a physics problem that was about to cost them their lives.
Then, that very night, Bisu Maharana's 12-year-old son, Dharmapada, showed up at the site. Now get this, he had never even met his father before. Hearing about this impending death sentence, this kid, who was an absolute prodigy, climbed the temple in the dead of night and single-handedly solved the magnetic puzzle, perfectly balancing that 52-ton stone. But the victory was tragically short-lived. Knowing the king would likely execute all 1,200 artisans out of pure spite if he found out a child did what they couldn't, the 12-year-old boy made the ultimate sacrifice. He jumped from the temple peak into the Chandrabhaga River, giving up his own life to protect the workers from the king's wrath.
So, that leads us directly into our next phase, the Black Pagoda's fall.
That heartbreaking sacrifice secured the temple's magnetic balance. But ironically, that same miraculous, delicate balance is exactly what led to the temple's ultimate ruin and earned it its most ominous nickname. The temple actually survived a brutal invasion back in 1568 by the general Kalapahad. He damaged the exterior, sure, but that ancient iron lock system was so strong he couldn't bring the place down. However, moving into the 17th century, a brand new threat arrived by sea. And this directly sets the stage for the 1903 British sealing right up to the present day.
Because here's the thing. European sailors, particularly the Portuguese, started calling the temple the Black Pagoda. And it wasn't because the stone was black. It was because of the sheer terror it caused out on the water. The magnetic field from that 52-ton lodestone was so incredibly strong that it literally reached miles out into the Bay of Bengal. It caused the navigation compasses of passing ships to just spin wildly out of control, driving heavy Portuguese galleons straight into the coastal rocks where they sank. So to save their fleets, the Portuguese sailors essentially launched a daring raid. They climbed the temple and forcibly ripped out that 52-ton top magnet. Now, they probably thought they were just removing a navigation hazard, right? But by stealing that central keystone, they completely destroyed the temple's structural balance forever. The iron lock system immediately began to fail. Those massive stone walls buckled. The levitating idol was rushed out by frantic priests and hidden in the sand for safety, while the once glorious Black Pagoda slowly crumbled into a highly dangerous, overgrown jungle ruin.
Okay, let's fast forward to today. Unsealing the future.
Everything we just talked about, the tragic history, the impossible physics, the hidden idol, it all connects to what is happening right now in the world of archaeology. We are literally watching history unfold in this explainer. In 2022, the Archaeological Survey of India made the monumental decision to finally open those sealed doors. And right now, as of December 2025, core drilling has officially begun. Working alongside structural experts from IIT Madras, they're drilling into the walls to assess if it's safe to remove the sand. And they've already found something wild. The sand hasn't stayed packed to the ceiling. It's actually settled 13.5 meters down, leaving a massive empty void right near the top of the chamber.
And that leaves us with a pretty massive burning question. When that sand is finally excavated, what exactly are we going to find? Keep in mind, Konark wasn't just a place of worship. It was essentially a giant ancient university of science, math, and astronomy. So as they prepare to unseal those doors for the very first time in 123 years, you have to ask yourself, will we just find a collapsed, dusty ruin? Or are there lost ancient technologies, secrets, and forgotten truths still sitting there in the dark, just waiting to be uncovered?